Okay. It's wonderful to see you all. I am, for those who do not know me, and for those who do, John Wood Jr., Braver Angels National Ambassador, somebody who has been committed to and a part of not just this work, but this community since way back in the fall of 2017 or so when I started volunteering. And boy, have we seen the world change a time or two since then. We're coming up on a momentous occasion for Braver Angels. 2023 is going to be an interesting year for the country and for us. I think that the work that we are doing, it's always been important. It continues to be. I think the opportunity for impact may be becoming richer than it's ever been. I don't want to suck all the oxygen out of the room talking about that, though. I'm very pleased and honored and happy to introduce folks to Braver Angels president, David Blankenhorn. And David is going to say a little bit about why we are gathered here online tonight. So without further ado, David, do you want to take just a couple of minutes to sort of orient folks to why we're here?
Yeah, thanks, John. Well, fellow Brave Angels members and partners, honored to be with you. Thank you for taking the time. Since we started this organization in December of 2016 with a workshop that involved 19 people in South Lebanon, Ohio, I just don't think there's ever been a moment that is as important as this one for us to, to make a statement, to make a statement to the country about who we are and what we're trying to do. And our convention in Gettysburg on July 5 through 8 on this hallowed ground, where we, for 3 days in 1863, July as well, tore ourselves apart as a country, 50,000 Americans killed in an actual civil war. And when a president gave an address to talk about a new birth of freedom on those burial grounds, we will meet again on those grounds on July 5 through 8. And I just don't think, since we started the organization, I just don't think we've ever had a moment as important as this one to make a statement about what we are now able to do to touch our country, to really help our country in a meaningful way. Not just some people who we have workshops and we want to do, we wish well for things, but to really have the muscle and the power and the commitment and the drive and the vision to really make a difference for our country going into a very fateful year of 2024 and beyond. So I'm honored to be with you. I just feel the importance of the moment, and you'll see in tonight's meeting what we are only as good as our members, and it's been real good so far. But you'll see what we're able to do if you can be a part of the convention, be there physically, but also help us identify some other organizations that can help us build this movement. So anyway, John, back over to you, but I just want to open by thanking you for what you're doing, thanking you for your leadership, your commitment, and trying to underscore the importance of the moment. And yeah, hoping to, well, not just hoping, very much looking forward to working with each of you as we go forward. So thank you so much. Back to you, John.
Indeed. Thank you very much, David. And just to then sum up very quickly the dual focus of our evening here tonight, we are here to talk about the Braver Angels Convention and to talk about Braver Network. Some of you will have been to our member meetings in the past, and so the flow of this won't be too unfamiliar to you, but we're going to spend most of our time here hearing from you all. your Brave Angels members, volunteers, people who are active in the field, or people who maybe have been more casually involved up until now. We want to share with you the vision for the convention, for this civil society coalition we're building, and get your questions, get your thoughts, get your comments, get your concerns, get your criticisms, because it is going to be a big thing for us and for this movement that we're all working together to build. And so, and when we get to Q&A, just so folks know, you can ask your questions one of two ways. One, you can click the raise hand button, which you'll find towards the bottom panel of your screen, or you can chat a written question to any of our Q&A managers, and you'll find that as you go through the chat to feature any name that you see with Q&A before it is somebody you can chat a question directly to. And so we're going to start off talking about the Braver Angels convention, and to give us an overview, I'd like to tag in my good friend, my good brother, Kieran O'Connor, Braver Angels CMO. Kieran, tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing in Gettysburg.
Yes, thank you, John. And it is so good to be with all of you tonight. I know many of you on this call, and I also see some new faces, which is really exciting. I'm going to talk a little bit about the convention in broad strokes, and then I really want to leave time for questions, and then making a strong ask to help us recruit more delegates for the convention. We already have 350 delegates who have gone through the complete process, and we have 200 more who have registered and applied. So we're well on our way to our goal of 600 delegates. And we're counting on all the folks here to go out in their communities and help us bring more people to the Braver Angels convention. So, as you all know, and I assume you have seen from the website, the Braver Angels convention is going to take place from July 5th to July 8th. Starting on the night of Wednesday, July 5th, we're going to have 3 full days of programming on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's going to be at Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. This convention is about moving us from an organization to a movement. How can we bring the broader suite of organizations that are part of Braver Network into our movement? So, as you all know, Braver Angels had 2 conventions before in 2018 and 2019. We gathered Braver Angels members and leaders from across the country to adopt a platform. In this convention, we are also putting a specific emphasis on getting partner delegates from organizations across different sectors and different arenas of American life. And we're going to have them joining us as well. So you can check out the website to see the highlights of what we have planned. We have plenaries each day. We also have breakout sessions. And we have evening events. So we'll have a total of 8 plenaries. These are all delegate gatherings. And plenaries are going to focus on 3 main topics. The first is who we are and what brings us here. The second is our current work for depolarization in communities, campuses, politics, media, leadership training, and network building. And the third is our shared vision and action plan for going forward. We're also going to have breakouts. We're going to have about 40 breakout opportunities in which delegates can choose from a suite of activities they want to participate in. This is going to include Braver Angels workshops, debates, academic seminars, breakouts put on by Braver Angels partners. This is going to help delegates connect with one another. It's going to help delegates learn skills and deep dive into issues. And most importantly, we're going to come together to vote on the convention platform, which is going to guide our activities going forward. So we begin on the evening of Wednesday, July 5th. We will have an opening plenary, which starts at 7 p.m. The theme of that plenary is, Are You Ready? This is to get ready for the 3 days that we are going to share together to build this movement to heal America. On Thursday, we will get started at 8:30 in the morning with our opening plenary. Each day, we will have 2 plenaries, a morning plenary at 8:30 a.m. and an afternoon plenary at 1:15 p.m. We will have our breakout sessions at 10:30 a.m. and 2:45 p.m. And we'll also have a period between the breakout and dinner for special gatherings. This is where alliances, partners can set up their own gatherings for delegates to meet and organize. On Friday, we'll have the same general structure, but we'll also have evening events where we're going to have Wilk Wilkinson and Francis Collins coming together for a discussion on trust and public health. We'll also have Congressman Dean Phillips, ideally joined by a Republican member of Congress, to talk about how we can fix Congress. We'll have discussions on the media. And on Saturday morning, we'll also be having Utah Republican Governor Spencer Cox joining us to talk about better conflict. At the end of the day on Saturday, we will be voting on the platform that's going to guide our activities going forward. So let me stop there. Let me briefly turn it over back to David, if there's anything you want to add to what I said, and then maybe open things up for questions, because I imagine lots of people on the call will have questions about the convention. David, I think you're on mute.
Oh, so sorry. I'm such a technical wizard. I really can just go so smoothly through the mute unmute process. No, that's good. I mean, we're going to have not only the Brave Angels people, but so many partner organizations. And we're going to hear about that in a minute from David Lapp. And I would just, my sum up to what Karen said is, it's going to be a heck of a good time. Amazing people there. You will not have any other opportunity to meet this many interesting people who disagree with you politically, and to build that kind of friendship. So the agenda is a great one, and if you go to the website and see, you'll see it's powerful. But even more important than that, we want to chart our future direction. We want to debate and adopt a platform for our future. So yeah, it's a pivotal moment, and I think it'll be a great experience. And yeah, thanks, Karen.
Thanks, David. And the last thing I'll say before turning it over to John to give final remarks about the convention, and then we can take some questions, is that music is also going to be a big part of this convention.
Oh, right, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
We found that music is a great way to bring people together, and we have an active Braver Angels songwriting team. They're going to be leading songwriting workshops throughout the convention. And we have also booked an in-house band named Gangsta Grass, which combines hip hop and bluegrass. And they're going to be performing throughout the convention. And we will close things off on Saturday night with a closing concert that'll be keynoted by Gangsta Grass. But we'll also give Braver Angels members who have some musical talents an opportunity to get on stage. And I will say that at a past convention, we had John Wood Jr. doing a little bit of Sam Cooke. So John, I don't know if you're gonna grace the delegate.
Oh man, not again.
That this year, but I certainly hope so.
We'll see. You and I did a little bit of Hamilton last time.
Yeah, that's right.
And, well, you know, the music really is really not just about entertainment. You know, it's about really sort of summoning a way of understanding who your fellow American is, through sort of the fruits of our culture, through the fruits of our artistic sensibilities, in a way that you can't always accomplish directly through dialogue, right? Braver Angels historically has leaned deeply into dialogue. We've leaned deeply into structured communication, and we continue to do so, you know? But we're in a moment in American life where the degree of distrust in the body politic is something that I think, you know, needs a solution that includes talking and communication, but speaks to the whole soul of the person. And so music and art is going to be a part of that because that's part of how we see each other. That's part of how we hear each other. We're going to be having an original play, an original drama, authored by our own Mark Metzger. He's not here on this call today, but we're going to enact dramatically a story that links the moment of time that we are in and the work of Braver Angels to the history and the legacy of the location that we'll be at, which of course is Gettysburg, where Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address. And this will be 160 years, David, you may have mentioned, but this will be 160 years following the Battle of Gettysburg, the Gettysburg Address, and that harrowing moment in the Civil War. So the idea is that we come together, we rise for America at one of the pivotal scenes of the Civil War to help this country avoid another one. And hopefully it's not hyperbolic to say that Braver Angels work really is just that important. We want to have a good time. We want to bring people together to deepen relationships, but it really is about the future of America. And so
That's beautifully put, John. Thank you for that. And the
Thanks.
last thing I'll say before we open it up for questions, I'd really encourage folks to take a look at the website because we now have the full agenda up for all of our breakout sessions. We may add a couple more here and there, but we've got a really good mix of activities and breakouts that people can choose from, different sessions on different topics. You know, this includes everything from Dr. King Then and Now to Red Blue workshops to Depolarizing Within to sessions led by StoryCorps, one of our core partners that has their one-to-one conversations. So there's really a lot to choose from. And in the weeks to come, we will be building out the plenary agenda so that you can actually get a sense of who's going to be speaking at which time during the convention. So with that, why don't I open
Hey,
up?
Karen,
Yeah.
also just people will have a chance to tour the battlefield with a
Yes.
guy, a expert tour guide who does this for a living, who is volunteering his services to us because he believes in our cause. So we'll be able to tour the battlefield with this tour guide and with the special kind of focus on how it relates to our work. So.
That's right. And soon we will be releasing a process by which delegates can make their preferences known for which breakouts they want to attend. Not everyone will get their first choice, but we're going to try to honor people's preferences as much as possible as we distribute delegates across different breakouts and come together again for the evening sessions, which will be premier events, probably 3 each night. So with that, why don't we open up the floor for questions?
Yes, indeed. First out the gate, I see Mr. Al Smith. Al, go ahead. Let's get you unmuted and feel free to ask your question.
Yeah, Al Smith, I'm the co-chair of the Connecticut Alliance. I think this would be a fantastic opportunity for national and local exposure. So my question is, what kind of media coverage do we have going in, during, and after? And what locally can we do to hype this, whether it be letter to the editor or what have you?
Well, that is a fantastic question, Al, and I'm glad you asked. We're doing a lot of media outreach across print, radio, TV, and online. What we're also doing this year, which we haven't done in the past, is actually lining up media partners. So not just media that's going to come and cover the convention, but media that's actually going to come and be a part of the convention. So for example, the Deseret News out in Utah, the Christian Science Monitor, they're going to not only send reporters, they're going to come and moderate panels. They're going to be a part of the discussion about the future of media. I would also encourage local alliances that have their own relationships with media to do the outreach. John Wood Jr. was on Fox News last night. We're certainly hoping to get Fox News there to cover the event. So we'll be doing broad-based press outreach, but I think this is really a grassroots movement, and any of you guys who have local press connections, please encourage them to write about this topic. It's such an animating topic within American society. And to your last point about letters to the editor, I think coming out of the convention, we're going to have a set series of actions that delegates can take to kind of further the work. And one of those will definitely be doing local media. So we'll be providing resources for that.
Outstanding. Yeah, very helpful question. Up next, Phil Gerson. Phil, go ahead and weigh in.
I must tell you how impressed I've been with all the Braver Angels facilitators and so forth. So I'm excited to be with you. So when I was working for Boeing and we went to conventions, you knew how to work a convention, you know? So so is it possible that we can get some kinds of lists with names so we could see clearly those projects that we might like to connect with and who we might like to connect with before we set foot there, so that we can get off running. So I'll just leave it there.
Phil, are you asking if there can be a list of attendees or participating organizations that can be provided ahead of time? Am I understanding your question?
Well, there's so many projects. I mean, you have the music,
Oh, yeah, of course.
so there's so many projects and those that Mary Beth Stibbins in Washington State is we work with her, but we have a nice group, and we want to then I'll be the rep going back, and just want to know, as opposed to coming in blind.
Yeah.
And then what I might be able to set an agenda for myself and who to talk to.
Yeah, Kieran, I think you spoke a little bit to that, but do you want to reemphasize some points?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to continue to put more meat on the bones, so to speak, as more information becomes available. If you check out the website now, we have a lot of the highlights, and then we also have kind of a schedule, but we're going to continue to fill that in with details in terms of speakers and who's leading which breakout. I don't think we've yet set a policy on whether we could list out all of the attendees in advance, because some of them are still being confirmed. But I do love the idea of making sure that there's easy ways for delegates to stay in touch with each other, particularly after the convention. So we'll be working on that too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Phil. Next in line here, John Tressiter, and John and everybody else, feel free to tell us where you are hailing from, and if you want to mention anything about your Braver Angels activity. But John, go ahead.
Yes, I'm John. I live in Merced, California, and my question is, what do you hope to get out of this convention in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania?
Indeed.
Well, that is a fantastic question. I think, as I mentioned before, John, we think that the only way we can really fulfill our mission to bridge the divide and actually make a meaningful difference to remake our politics in a spirit of goodwill is to have a broad-based social movement. It can't just be one organization, Braver Angels, as itself, carrying forward the work, as mighty as we are, as much as we've been able to accomplish. We need to create a movement that spans across society. And that's why we have a real focus on partner delegates. So at previous conventions, it was just Braver Angels members and Braver Angels leaders. And the delegates at the convention reflected the Braver Angels membership. At this convention, we are really seeking to build a really diverse delegation that represents the United States across lines of race, class, age, politics. We're going to have over 50 student delegates from various colleges across the United States. So there's going to be a significant contingent of young people. And coming out of the convention, we're going to have leaders of organizations. David Lapp's going to speak a little bit later on in this call about Braver Network and all the great work they've been doing. But coming out of the convention, we're going to start spreading seeds with different organizations to start carrying forward the mission. And so this is kind of the first time we've done this. And we have this vision, but we don't quite yet know how it's going to work. We have a vision of bringing together all these organizations, building relationships, getting people moving in the same direction, starting to build a national infrastructure. People are undertaking activities across organizing, media, fundraising, partnership development, so that come 2024, when we're in the heat of a divisive election cycle and the attention is focused on us and the appetite in the country is enormous, we will have had our sea legs. We will have already started building this movement with different organizations so that we'll be ready to meet the moment, and we'll really be able to service the need that we know is going to be there in the summer of 2024 leading up to the next presidential election.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Kieran. All that's well said. Elizabeth, I see you. I want to very quickly just pull a couple of questions out of the chat, because we've got some good questions there that I think we can address fast. Madeline McCarran asked, are you still striving for equal numbers of red and blue? Is there room for purple/independence? Short answer to that question is absolutely yes. Now, there is, of course, a degree to which it is easier for us to recruit blues than reds, or sometimes, and we know that that's a larger issue in terms of striving for red-blue balance in our membership body and with some of our individual programs. Depending on where you are, of course, that might go the other direction. It's good if you are a blue, if you're able to find a red to sort of team up with you and to apply together, because it is an application process, right? And so we may wind up getting more applications than we can actually approve. But if you're a blue, it can be helpful to find a red. Kieran, or anybody else?
Yeah,
to be added
that's right. I mean, we are steadfast in our commitment to having a politically balanced delegation. And that is why sometimes there have been blues who've applied, and we've kind of had them on the wait list a little bit to make sure we have enough red. So no matter what happens, we're going to have political balance. And I think we're going to really hit our numbers, because we have applications streaming in, but what we really need is continued outreach to the communities we want represented at the convention. Working class Americans, conservatives, people who come from all different backgrounds, so that this can really be a more vibrant convention than we've had in the past.
Yeah. Thank you, Kieran. And one from Susan Rico. Susan asks, can you please define plenary for those who may not know what it means? Kieran, what's a plenary session?
This seems like a question for David Blankenhorn, who's been around the block once or twice.
A plenary session is when we all meet together. It really, so we're not divided into different rooms or segments. We're all in one room at one time.
That's right. And we're going to have a great ballroom on the campus of Gettysburg where we can all gather together. It's got a capacity of 800. So plenary will be when all the delegates are gathered to participate in the same program at once. And then the breakout session is when delegates will go off to different sessions happening around campus, and they'll have a wide range of activities that they can choose from.
Thank you, Kieran. And I just want to get one more in from chat, and then we'll go to Elizabeth and Donna. But Edward Strickler asked an important question. He says, when will the platform be drafted, and will any part of it be available before arriving at the convention? Kieran?
Yes. The platform committee is working now to get a rough draft of the platform to show to delegates prior to their arrival at the convention, so that the delegates will have a chance to comment on the draft platform before they arrive at the convention. And then during the convention, there will be ample opportunity for discussion, debate, and then on the final day, there will be a full plenary devoted to debating and voting on the convention. So the thing we're striving to do is this is a citizen-led movement. And so we want everybody to have their input. And so delegates will have numerous opportunities beginning before the convention to make their comments on the platform.
Mhm. And veterans of the 2018 and 2019 conventions will remember just how powerful a part of the experience the platform drafting and debates were. Okay,
Right.
back to the room. Elizabeth Christensen, thank you for your patience. Go ahead and weigh in with your question or comment.
Hello, I am an ambassador from Portland, Oregon, and we are just about to initiate a new alliance here. So I'm very excited for this convention, looking forward to it. Some short while ago, there was talk about partnering with Bridge USA, a Braver Angels type organization on high school and college campuses. I wonder where we're at with that and if they will be represented at the convention as well. I heard you mention 50 student leaders and from all different universities. I'm wondering where our youth student advocacy programs coming from?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. The Bridge USA partnership is, I guess, mainly responsible for bringing these student delegates to the convention. And so the whole idea is a kind of an intergenerational movement where we can work very closely with Bridge USA to make that happen. There was a lot of discussion about whether we should merge our two organizations, and that you may be, Elizabeth, referring to that process. We spent about 6 or 8 months discussing between the two organizations whether we should merge into one organization. We decided not to do that, but for mission reasons, because we both felt that we could achieve our mission, our shared mission, more effectively by remaining, a student group and Braver Angels. But at the same time, Manu Meal, the president of Bridge USA, is going to be one of the leaders of our convention, and they're bringing their student delegates, and we are working with them on campuses across the country to we do the Braver Angels debates, and they help provide, they create Bridge USA chapters. So and we'll discuss this at the convention, the reasons for why we did it the way we did it, and everybody can have their opinions about all this, but they're wonderful friends, and they're going to be there as a co-sponsoring entity. But and I think there were good reasons for this. We decided not to merge, at least for now, and so that's where we are. But thank you for asking.
Indeed. And let me just add to that very quickly. Bridge USA will be sending students to the convention, but I don't think it's going to be only them. There's a conservative network called Forge.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, John.
Yeah, right. Which has a student population that is deeply rooted mostly in working class and evangelical conservative communities that is likely to send some students our way. Karen and I had a conversation earlier today with a leader and activist representing a group called Break the Chains, concerned with criminal justice reform, and looks like they're excited about sending students. The Social Justice Learning Institute in Los Angeles may very well be sending students. So we're likely to pull some college age and potentially even high school level participation from different orgs across the spectrum and across the country. So looking forward to that. Okay, Donna Murphy needs no introduction, of course. Go ahead, Donna, and weigh in.
Hi, I've got a question for everybody on this call. If you've not registered yet for the convention, why the heck not? Come on, folks, this is an amazing opportunity. I've been to both of these conventions, and it's a magical experience where people have a once a year, it's only been 2 years now that we've had it, now the third time, where you can sit down at lunch, breakfast, and dinner with people who have very different beliefs than you do, and have earnest conversations where you learn about each other, you form friendships. Some people you've been seeing on Zoom calls, you can meet them in person. It is just a magical experience. There's nothing like it. Please go to this convention. The only excuses I can think of not to go might be that you're getting married that weekend. Okay, maybe you're on jury duty and can't get out of that, or perhaps you're having open heart surgery. Other than that, I can't think of any reason not to go. And if you are a blue, then get off your duff and find a red to go with you if need be. This is what Braver Angels is all about, is taking the initiative, reaching out to people who have different beliefs than you do. So I will see you at the convention.
Especially,
Here, Donna. Here,
Especially-
here.
especially now that we are all out of excuses. I said no introduction necessary, but I will introduce Donna very quickly. Donna Murphy is one of the great Braver Angels cheerleaders. And of course, originally she was Braver Angels lead national organizer. And since then has also been spearheading Braver Angels one-to-one conversations, which is something that folks should, one-to-one conversation model, which is something that folks should check out as well. So Donna, always wonderful to see you. Okay, up next, Ted Borak, and I think we've got about 5 minutes or so left in this segment, so we'll try and move quickly. But Ted, go ahead and weigh in.
Well, I'd just like to ask Donna if she'll accept moving across the country about this time as another excuse for not being able to come. But I'm really excited about Braver Angels. I think it's a great organization, and I absolutely hate to ask this question, but have you considered security?
Yes, we're actively coordinating with Gettysburg College, and they have their own local police force. So we went down there and met with them, and they're sort of going through their standard procedure in terms of staffing the event. So we kind of defer to them when it comes to security because they have their own college police force, and they also work closely with the Gettysburg Police Department, and they have, their protocols and plans and all of that. And Gettysburg College is frequently hosting these kind of big events. So when I was down there and talking to the officers, I got the sense that they know what they're doing.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's keep going. John Saunders, jump in.
Yeah, since we're trying to spot.
Oh,
You're
John,
on mute, John.
re-click the mute button, John. There we go.
Since we're trying to spawn a social movement, one of the questions I have in my mind is, okay, I've not done that before. How do I even, at a basic level, educate myself on how to nurture a social movement? So that's question number one. And then question number two is, I know we're trying to do some unique things because a lot of past social movements have been around a very specific issue, like civil rights for, Black Americans or something like that. So we're trying to do some unique things. What's the process for figuring out how we're going to do it, right? There's going to be some group of people involved. There's going to be some process, some ways of making decisions about how we're going about this. So those are my two questions.
That is a fantastic question, John, and it is certainly a question that we could dedicate an entire separate meeting to and only scratch the surface of. I'm going to let David Blankenhorn jump in on this, but I do want to just say very quickly that in my estimation, what Braver Angels is doing in the social movement arena is, in a sense, fairly unprecedented. I mean, you're right to point out, John, that typically speaking, social movements are aimed at a particular political or legislative outcome or a certain sort of social outcome. Let's get people to stop drinking, pro-life, pro-choice, etc. And they tend to rest on the backs of folks who might have some political or cultural uniformity. We're bringing together people who disagree about politics to build a social movement, right? Something that, engages the policy conversations, but also transcends it. So, David, you've thought about this as much or more than anybody. Anything you want to add quickly to or say to John's good question?
Well, we're doing it together, brother. This is something that has not been done before, as John said, and we're looking for that kind of creative leadership, including some of the people I see on this call who have participated in past efforts that have touched the country in meaningful ways. Carly, if there's a way to send to Mr. Sanders several of the discussion documents that we've written up about, can Braver Angels participate in a social movement? I think that might be helpful. And if anybody else would like to receive those written analyses about how we can contribute to a social movement, but you know, we're creating something together that has not been created before. So that's the excitement of it. That's the challenge of it. But as far as some preparatory materials, we can make that available to you, Mr. Saunders, or any of the other people on the call who would like to take a look at that. What should they do, Carly? Just send you an email or something like that, or what?
I'm about to post it in the chat.
Okay.
The piece you wrote. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you very much, John. And gosh, I really hate to transition while we still have folks in line on this topic. Perhaps we can, if you've got a question that may potentially be pertinent to the discussion we're about to have on Braver Network, but references back to the convention, feel free to jump back in the line. Paul, Ron, my apologies, but we're going to keep the conversation going. I want to make sure we have time to discuss Braver Network. So feel free to put the hand back up when we get to the next Q&A. Okay, so now what we want to do is discuss a closely related item here, and that is Braver Network. Now, I described Braver Network at the top of the call as sort of a civil society coalition of a broad spectrum of organizations, both in terms of type and political leaning, many organizations that are not political at all, that nevertheless are committed to and supportive of the work of depolarizing America and rebuilding trust between the American people. That's my simple summation of it. But David Lapp, Braver Angels co-founder, my friend and brother, you have been leading the work on building out Braver Network. And I think perhaps you're best positioned to say a bit about it and to introduce a couple of representatives from the network that we have with us tonight. So David, do you want to step in?
Absolutely. Well, David Lapp here, coming to you from South Lebanon, Ohio, where everything got started 6 years ago. So 3 things I want to highlight about Braver Network. One is who Braver Network is for. Second, what Braver Network is doing. And third, what you can do to sign up organizations for Braver Network. So first, who is Braver Network for? In short, Braver Network is for any organization that wants to be part of the solution. So if the problem is out of control polarization, the solution is a red-blue balanced movement for civic renewal. As I think somebody mentioned before, no one organization can successfully tackle polarization. And we've got thousands of members all across the country. Braver Angels by ourselves, we can't do it. No one organization can. A couple organizations can. It will take hundreds and even thousands of organizations saying, I'm in, what can we do to help? So Braver Network is a network of organizations from across the political spectrum working together to bridge the partisan divide. And we think that the movement has to be red-blue balanced because we know over our course of doing this work that in order to find each other as fellow citizens, that we have to be working together as fellow citizens and as equals. So doing it in a red-blue balanced way is really important for us. So who is this network for? It's for big and national organizations like StoryCorps, which is an honorary co-chair of Braver Network, and the Carter Center. Small and local organizations like Ames Public Library in Iowa and New Horizons Church in Jackson, Mississippi. All those organizations are part of Braver Network. So it's for local think of local congregations and civic clubs like Rotaries. And then, think about the big national associations of congregations and the big national associations of civic clubs. It's for all of those. So it's for the big and national, the small and the local. And it's a politically and ideologically diverse network of people from organizations. As John mentioned, there's many political organizations and there's many non-political or non-partisan organizations. So as you may know, one of the organizations that's part of Braver Network is the Durham County Republican Party. And obviously they have an agenda to seat Republicans in elections. They want to see Republican candidates get elected. But they also care deeply about out of control polarization, and they have been hosting Braver Angels workshops and have a lot of people who are part of their local party who are part of Braver Angels. There's several state chapters of the Forward Party. Many of you might be familiar with the Forward Party, which Andrew Yang helped to start. And they're actually pretty ideologically diverse. They've got everyone from conservatives to progressives to centrists. And there's many state chapters of the Forward Party that are joining. The Russell Kirk Center is a part of Braver Network. Russell Kirk, many people consider Russell Kirk to be the father of modern conservatism. They're in Braver Network. The Progress Network, which is an effort of a progressive think tank, they're a part of Braver Network. So it's for partisan and advocacy organizations, any organization that wants to be part of the solution. So the organization might not have fight polarization in its mission statement, and you might, be prepared to look at the list and say, wait a minute, that organization signed up for a movement to fight polarization? Yes, that's the point. And a kind of a society of strange bedfellows. So if we see that, then we know it's working. So and also Braver Network is for cities. And this is something that John Wood pointed out. There is a we had our first city join Braver Network, the city of Lakewood, California. Their mayor is sending the deputy city manager to the convention because they want to be part of the solution. And we're in conversation with several other cities that want to join Braver Network. So, whoa, think about that, right? Think about the possibility of like thousands of villages and cities and counties joining Braver Network. So at this point, I do want to invite two organizations who are part of Braver Network to just briefly say who they are and what motivated them to join Braver Network. Erica Manuel is from the Institute for Local Government in California. Erica, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. It's really good to be here. I'm excited to be here. Sorry about that. So as he mentioned, I'm based in California. My name's Erica. And I think a lot of times when people think about California, in addition to obviously the amazing John, they think about this left-leaning West Coast, right? Or maybe, separately from that, right? But I'm a California native, and I can tell you that the real California is probably as diverse politically as it is culturally and geographically. And certainly my upbringing would speak to that. I was actually born in the Bay Area, which is this huge epicenter, right, for its innovation, its technology, its high tech, right? It's known for being very urban and resource rich and progressive, but it's also kind of it's got its own identity, right? But midway through high school, after I was born there, I moved from this bustling Bay Area to this very rural Central Valley town, farming town, population 2,000, no stoplights, only stop signs, lots of pickup trucks, very, very different perspective. And the kinds of issues that they wanted to talk about politically, the things they thought would fix our country, fix our state, very, very different. But that is California, that's our state. We are very blue, we are very red, we are very purple, and everything in between. And I think a lot of times people see the Electoral College and think that it's pretty trendy, always blue, but it's really not. And I think I was raised with that dichotomy and certainly learned early on how very different people can think differently and how important it is for us to look beyond the colors of our skin and the place that we live and the way that we might think someone might believe something, and that we need to find that common ground. It was important for me to find common ground, I think. That's always been sort of my North Star. It's just bringing those different voices together. As David mentioned, I am now the CEO of the Institute for Local Government. It's a statewide organization. It's nonpartisan, but what we do is we provide education and training to every single city, county, and special district in the state of California. And if you're not from here, you may not know how many there are. That's 482 cities, 58 counties, and 2,500 special districts. Every single one of those has elected officials, they have staff, and those people lead really important policy decisions in large, small communities of every size, every geography. We train them on leadership, governance, public engagement, equity, youth development, civic engagement, what it takes for them to do their job. And I've been in this role for about 4 years, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that the polarization that we're all seeing across the country, the national level, has seeped into our local discourse. And I know you know this, you're here for a reason, right? What you may not know is that in California, we've seen about a 25 to 30% turnover rate in our local elected officials at every election for the last 3 years. So that means that incumbents are retiring or being unseated with brand new faces, which is absolutely good. But these new faces are often running on very, very strong ideological platforms that are either very left or very, very right. And that matters because they're your mayors, they're your council members, they're your aldermen, and they help build that foundation and that culture of cooperation in your community. So their ability to work together, govern together, it's going to impact how well your neighborhood, my neighborhood actually runs, right? How inclusive it is, how friendly it is, how welcoming it's going to be to people that look like me or people that don't look like me, right? So my organization is all about maintaining our democracy, building trust in local government through things like transparency and diversity and engagement. So obviously, maybe it rings true, but the Braver Angels mission, it's perfectly aligned with the goal that we have. And the incredible team at Braver Angels is just a really amazing asset to this work nationally. And we love to be a partner here in California. So we're proud to be in the network, and I'm super excited to join you at the convention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erica. And I want to introduce Lance Walker. So from a big association like the Institute for Local Government to a local barbershop, Lance Walker runs Walker's Barbershop just outside of Gettysburg. Lance, tell us about yourself and what motivated you to join Braver Network.
Yeah, thank you, David. So I've been open here in Chambersburg, a barbershop for about 17 years. I co-chair the district attorney's board for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and he was the one who actually turned me on to Braver Angels. He said, Lance, this is an organization you may want to look into. So last year I looked into you guys and I attended a couple of seminars, and I thought, wow, this was really, really powerful, because I am literally in the middle of doing this work every day. And I think I take it for granted sometimes that my job is because the diversity of my clientele is probably 40% Black, 40% white, 20% other. My wife is a nurse and she worked at the hospital, so she sends a lot of doctors this way. And so I have a lot of doctors from different countries and whatnot. And so at any given moment, the conversations that take place in this barbershop, they're really rich, deep conversations. I recognize that at this point in my life, I'm 56 years old, and I thought, you know, whenever I hand this torch off to my kids and to the next generation, it's got to be burning brighter. And so I choose to lean into these conversations. I choose to build relationships. I choose proximity with people that I probably vehemently disagree with, but I keep their humanity to the forefront, regardless of what it is that we, you know, and that's what helps actually keep me grounded whenever we're having these deep, rich conversations. And I have to constantly, every day, when I tell you every day, because my books are solid every day, and it is a diverse clientele that I have, we get into the topics, and I make it a point to not avoid those conversations. I would rather have them, because I think we need more dialogue than less, as long as we can do it in a manner that's respectful and a family-friendly environment also for me, as far as my barbershop is concerned. So whenever I attended some of the seminars last year, I thought, wow, I need to really lean into to Braver Angels. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here and looking forward to the convention in July.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lance. And so there are currently 138 organizations. At press time, there are 138 organizations that are part of Braver Network. And as you can see, it's for any organization that wants to be part of the solution. So let me just say a brief word about what Braver Network is doing, and then what you can do to invite organizations into Braver Network, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So what we're doing at Braver Network is we're meeting at the convention to help launch a broad-based movement for civic renewal. Erica, Lance, and many other leaders from these organizations will be there at the convention as partner delegates. And after the convention, organizations will have the opportunity to participate in an action day, an action campaign after the convention. and the opportunity to regularly meet with each other as a network of organizations and to participate in Braver Angels leadership and training meetings. So then, what can you do to invite organizations to join Braver Network? Anybody can invite an organization to join. So what the organization, if you think about an organization with whom you have a relationship, and tell them about Braver Network. You can go to braverangels.org, look at our programs, and there's something there about Braver Network. And there on that button, it says some words about Braver Network, and there is a join the network button. Now, it isn't apply to join the network button because we do need red blue balance. And the only requirements are that the organization designates a liaison from their organization, and that liaison becomes a Braver Angels member. But that's it. There's no, it doesn't cost anything. You don't have to participate in any meetings. We hope that they send representatives to the convention and so forth and so on, but there's no requirements. Now, as I say, it is an application because we do need a red blue balance among the liaisons in the network. So we look at the individual political leaning of liaisons in the network, that is the representatives from the organization. And that info, by the way, is kept private. It's not shared publicly. And then we accept organizations into the network based on our red blue balance. And by the way, some of you might be familiar with the Problem Solvers Caucus in Congress. And this is the way they do it. They have an exactly equal number of Republicans and Democrats as a part of the Problem Solvers Caucus. And so we're doing something similar. And by the way, representatives from organizations can be, they might not lean either way, and that's fine, or they might be exempt because of professional reasons. So I want to just show you how simple this is to invite organizations to apply. Carly, if you could just pull up this letter that V. Cangiano from our Braver Angels team came up with. Let me just read it here. I am a volunteer. So this is something that we'll post this in the chat. You could, run with this and do with it what you will. Dear Sally, I am a volunteer with Braver Angels working to reduce political polarization. Knowing a bit about your organization, and you can say a bit about it, I wanted to reach out to you about a network of organizations we've been building. The 130 plus organizations in Braver Network span the political spectrum and have differing missions. And you could give some examples based on the list of organizations that are on the Braver Network webpage. But all agree that polarization is impacting them in the country, and they want to do something about it. Many of our network's member organizations will be attending Braver Angels National Convention from July 5th to the 8th in Gettysburg to connect, collaborate, and help shape this movement. You can check out the Braver Network website to read about how you can participate, but I'm also available to hop on a quick phone or Zoom call if you have any questions, or you can join one of the next weekly info session that we do as Braver Angels for new and prospective organizations. So that's it. So that's something that you can run with. So I'm going to give you some homework here. Invite a person with whom you have a relationship from an organization and tell them about Braver Network. Invite them to apply to join Braver Network, and then tell them to send a representative to the convention as a partner delegate. So to sum up, Braver Network is for any organization that wants to be part of the solution. We're meeting at the convention to launch a movement, and organizations can participate in activities after the convention. And I want to invite each of you to go out and invite an organization with whom you have a relationship and tell them about Braver Network and to send a representative to the convention. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, John.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Lance. Yeah, this is fantastic. Now, let's jump back on the Q&A. We have, I think, just a little over 20 minutes here, 21, 22 minutes. So we'll want to make the best use of our time. Feel free to raise your hand or submit a question in the chat. And let's go first now. Brother Ron McFarland. Ron, how are you doing, my friend?
I am super here in Ames, Iowa.
Outstanding.
I hope Lance as a barbershop breakout. I'm just gonna make that comment. I used to have my greatest conversation in the barbershop, so
That's right.
I'm looking forward. My question is about geographic relevance. As far as will we have breakout sessions for networks? Like the different geographic areas within Braver Angels. Because that goes back to a previous meeting. I'm into the structural process of Braver Angels, and I would like to meet more people that's in my region, so we can discuss a collaborative focus as well as the main focus of Braver Angel.
That's a great question. It's I think it's a great idea for not doing that. But Kieran, or it's more of a convention question. Kieran or David Blankenhorn, do we have an answer on that front? Are we doing any geographically oriented breakouts or programming?
Right now, we do not have that in the program, Ron. But we do have slots of time where people could organize regional gatherings. So I hear what you're saying, and I think it's a great idea. Karen, what would you suggest? What would you suggest about people that might want to do a regional gathering? How could they pursue that idea?
Yeah, I think that would be a good question for the field, Ron. So Ron, maybe you and I can jump on with Steve Saltwick, who I think you know, and talk about the field, because ultimately coming out of the convention, it's not just an end in itself, right? This is the beginning of something. So we want to have a campaign, a post-convention campaign that people can take with concrete actions. And I think the field's going to be a big part of that. So it's currently under development, but when delegates come to the convention, they will be armed with what they need to carry forth the mission.
Yeah, they're going to have some discussions at our organizing level. So I think we could put that on the agenda, and perhaps, I know there's going to be several caucuses, like our ambassadors want to meet and different groups want to meet. So the regional idea, I remember at the beginning, Donna Murphy was a big advocate of this, the state level caucuses. So let's try to put that on the agenda so we can see where that could go.
Okay, fantastic. Let's go next to Michael Abramson. Michael, let's get you unmuted and in the conversation.
Yeah, so my question is that suppose we have the organization that said, okay, we are happy to join this BraverNet, and then what should happen next? So organizationally, how this partnership should be, I don't know, officially recognized. We could just continue to coexist as separate organizations, and each organization has its own meeting schedule, its own procedures. We could coordinate informally, but how to make this partnership really working?
Indeed. David Lapp, did you catch all that?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you, Michael. And once an organization is accepted into a network, there's we ask, you're listed on the web page as part of Braver Network. And then the big thing is that, we see Braver Network not just as like a one-to-one relationship that Braver Angels has with an organization, but the network, right? That organizations together are helping to build this movement. And so that means hopefully the organization will send a representative to this year's convention, to next year's convention, and will hopefully, there'll be opportunities. Let's say that you're a congregation, and I know there's congregations that are part of Braver Network where they've put together leadership teams of reds and blues in their congregation, and they're sponsoring workshops. They're getting trained as Braver Angels moderators and sponsoring workshops for their congregation. So that's an example of the kind of thing that an organization could do. But the main thing is to, contribute, for the organization to contribute their talents and expertise to helping to build the movement. And that means, sending people to the convention, getting people trained to lead workshops, and participating in the action campaign that will be happening after the convention.
So it sounds
Fantastic.
more like information sharing, right? So there is no well-defined procedure.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Right.
it's intentionally there's not a well-defined formula for what happens, after an organization joins Braver Network. It's intentionally meant to be, some organizations will want to do a lot, and some organizations will, want to lend their name and participate as able. But the point is to assemble as many organizations as possible to lend their names and their time and their talent to the cause.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, Michael Abramson. And let's minimize the back and forth just in the interests of time here. I want to get in as many folks as I can. I will take just a bit of a point of privilege and jump over to Paul Norris, since Paul, we pulled the rug up from you as you got to the head of the line last time around. Paul, can you jump in?
Oh, I feel seen, John. I feel seen.
I see you, man. I see you.
What is the process for adding to the breakout list?
It's a good question. Kieran, you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. Hey, Paul. So most of our breakouts are set, but we definitely are open to considering, late additions. So I would say just send your proposal to me, and I will rope in the appropriate people to make a determination. But we really want to make sure that delegates have a wealth of options to choose from for breakouts, but that all of our programming serves the goal.
Excellent. I want to jump over to the chat really quick, and actually, there's a few that roughly deal with the same subject here, so I'm just going to roll them all up into one here. Kieran, I think that you're best positioned to speak to this. Some people are asking about the possibility of hybrid participation. Is there a way to log in from home online? Or if they can't do that, and if they can't attend, will there be videos of some of the events and plenaries and breakouts, et cetera?
Yeah, so originally we were exploring the opportunity of offering kind of a true hybrid engagement part of the convention. But ultimately, the meat of the convention is really going to be in person for delegates who come for the whole time and take the journey with us. That being said, we will be live streaming some of our select plenary programming. So for example, on Saturday morning, Spencer Cox, Republican governor of Utah, he's going to address plenary about his notions around better conflict. That's something that will be live streamed. So you can check into the Braver Angels Facebook, the Braver Angels YouTube. But we're not going to be live streaming like all of the plenaries. It's like folks who want to tune in real time will be able to join select things. So I'd encourage anyone who's on the fence about whether they should come to in person or do it on Zoom, got to come in person.
There we go. Thank you, Kieran. Now, another one from chat, and I think Kieran or David Lapp, I think either of you might be able to speak to this, but Madeline McCarran asks, she says, to draw working class people, have you considered stipends? The people that I know in that category have very limited paid time off work. So financial assistance, is that something that we potentially can provide? Who wants to jump on that?
Yes, I'll let David Lapp weigh in on it, but I will say that for the convention, yes, we have scholarships available that people can apply for, and they will be given out on a need basis, but we have budgeted scholarships so that everyone can come regardless of their income level.
Okay.
That's right. Finances should not be an obstacle for anyone because there are need-based scholarships available.
Exactly.
Okay, outstanding. Okay, back to the queue. Quentin Wilson in Missouri, I see. Go ahead and jump on in.
Thanks, John. I mean, this is a huge challenge, obviously, to get blue and red together, but and I think amazing things are going on. And I'm involved in a number of groups that are listed as network partners, ASQ, No Labels, Forward Party in Missouri. But I think the bad news is there's a few more challenges lurking on the horizon and I wondered how Braver Angels sees those. In particular, I'm guessing that a lot of members like me are actually moderates, are not on the extreme. They may be blue or red, but I'll just say this about the Problem Solvers, which is supported by No Labels. None of those people are on the extreme. Our problem solvers are the Democrats and Republicans who work together, who actually are committed, and they're really not extreme in these positions. And they help solve problems like the infrastructure bill and CHIPS bill, and the things that are passing are coming from that group. And I just wonder how the mention is keep being made about recruiting a red and a blue, when the survey research out there shows that a majority of people are no longer confident in either of the parties. And I just wonder how Braver Angels is actually actively trying to bring that central group together in this kind of work, not just to get people on the extreme to get along or figure out how to listen to each other, but how other people can play a role in that as well.
Yeah.
The one distinctive that we have principle that we have had is that all of us have blind spots and no one is not worth talking to. So we don't say we have the answers, and we don't say that some people aren't worth talking to, that some people are too extreme, for example. We don't say that. So we are looking for the full spectrum of opinion. And we welcome that. Now, sometimes in our work, there's, what they call a selection effect. The people who are already predisposed to want to talk to their political opponents, that's a group, and they tend to be a little bit more eager to be a part of what we do. But we view that in some ways as a problem, because we want to actually bridge the actual divide in the country, right? We're not trying to bring together a few people on either, we're not trying to bring together the middle. We're trying to bring together the full spectrum. And that's a fundamental principle for us. And we make a lot of efforts to make sure that that's what we're doing. We're not always perfect at it, but that is what we try to do. There's more to say about people who are totally, alienated from the whole political system. And there are a lot of those people. That's maybe a subject for another discussion. So I think I'll stop there, John.
And just the one thing I'd add to that is, if you look at the program and breakouts, you're going to see people represented from across the spectrum. We have left-wing activists, we have, dyed-in-the-wool social conservatives, and they're not necessarily ever going to agree on policy, but they do agree that we need to treat each other better. And they do believe in the power of talking to find shared values. And it's pretty incredible what happens when you bring these people together in this kind of environment. So in a way, we're sort of creating a little experiment, a little bubble, if you will, in Gettysburg, on the heels of the 160th anniversary of the battle, the bloodiest battle in American history. We're creating a little universe, an experiment for 3 days, when we bring all these people from across the country, from different walks of life, to meet and interact, and together try to come up with a platform that could be useful to the country. Because ultimately, we're all here because we believe in the country and we want to be of service to it. And that's why we're coming together.
Yeah, you might be surprised, Quentin. We'll have dyed-in-the-wool MAGA folks there. Kieran and I were talking today to a man who was the founder of the Black Panther Party in New Orleans, And, I thought we might have a bit of a hard sell on our hands in terms of getting him out. But wasn't the case at all. He said to us, man, he said, somebody needs to be doing what you guys are doing, because if not, this country isn't going to survive, So it looks like he's coming. He's probably going to bring some students and activists with him. So yeah, Quinn, we're reaching out, my friend. Okay, James Palumbo, you're next.
Great stuff on the table here, and the last two questions and comments about the moderates and as well as the people on the fringe. You guys this is a work in progress. I mean, I'd like to hear it framed more like that. I'm a little long in the tooth. I've been around this for 5 decades and got my own experiences relative to the American experiment. And, so there's a bit of cynicism when you hear all this, given my background. But to mirror what John Wood said, if this doesn't happen and we don't continue this work in progress, we're really up against it. This has to happen. So kudos in that sense. But I have a substantive concern here, and I've tried to raise it with sending emails to John Wood and Mr. Blankenhorn and David Lapp, and let's see who else I've sent it to. Well, a few of you, and Karen as well. I'm worried that the concern over our ideological character is going to be missed here. Our country is not just a democracy. Our character is framed around democracy and capitalism. And you don't hear enough about that. And the dialogue that surrounds that is very important. So we start to understand who we are and where we might go with who we are. So I've been trying to bring that to as a talking point to the Braver Angels table.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I've reached out to the different people, and it doesn't seem like you're interested in that. Despite its significance in terms of talking about America, and it's a nonpartisan concern. So I'd like to talk more about that and bring that to the table, both in the convention aspect and into the partnership in terms of groups.
Well, James,
I'm
I'm
just
glad
saying that. I bring that out and saying, it, and I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you raised that because it's an important topic. And I think part of the reason we want you at the convention and we want all of you guys at the convention is to bring your ideas and concerns and spark these conversations. Because we're going to have optional gatherings throughout the convention where people can gather and have conversations about their own ideas. It's very decentralized.
Let me interject here. I understand the premise, but I've been after Braver Angels almost since you started to bring this to the forefront. This isn't something new that says, hey, let's bring it to the convention.
James, can I try and crystallize my well, we're short on time, James. We're short on time. So,
okay, then I've said my piece.
No, but I want to just make sure I understand. So you're saying that we ought to be engaging capitalism as a vehicle through which we ought to better understand American society and not just democracy, that capitalism as a frame is necessary for us to adequately engage this project. Am I understanding correctly?
Yes, that's sort of it, but it's the marriage of democracy and capitalism that is American history.
Got it.
That needs to be talked about.
Yeah, it's a fine point. I apologize if I may not have been responsive. We've got a high email volume. No excuses. I hear your point, and I hear your point, and I appreciate it. If we have
a great podcast point.
It is a good podcast point. Yeah. I mean, we lean towards democracy as a frame because that's sort of the aspect of civic engagement, right? Capitalism is an economic system, but I agree with you that there's a deep relationship between the two. I wish we had more time to elaborate, but keep going with the point, James. I'm glad you feel strongly about it, and I do think it's a worthy one. Lance, let's go ahead and get you in, and I want to get to Dan Messina at least before we close up. But we're gonna have to go quickly. Yeah.
Okay, quickly. I didn't, y'all touched on it a little bit earlier, but my thing is, and what I've noticed in the shop and everything else is, I'm a very relationship oriented person. Dealing with, I guess, putting the human dignity to the forefront. What are we doing as far as that is concerned, whether that's for the convention or, because I think whenever the moment I keep that the human dignity to the front and I affirm the human dignity, I don't give it to you, you already have it. I need to affirm that in you. The moment we do that, I think that puts us all on equal footing as far as, so whatever comes underneath that, whether it's you're a Republican and a Democrat or whatever else, what are we doing or are we doing anything to solidify that? Because I think that if we're coming at that, if that's to the forefront, I think we're going to treat one another at least with the dignity and the humanity that we ought to be treating one another over these hard to talk about topics.
Understood. Well, I would say to that just very quickly, Lance, that to me, that's just fundamental to everything that we do. You guys will, folks who listen to me speak a little bit will oftentimes hear me talk about the philosophy of nonviolence, the perspective that animated the work of Martin Luther King Jr. And that sort of begins with this idea that agape love or goodwill is a spiritual power that can affect social transformation precisely because it honors the dignity and the worth of the other human being, even if they oppose you, even if they disagree with you, even if they persecute you. That's sort of the substance to the idea of recognizing even your opponents as being made in the image of God, right? Whether you take that literally or metaphorically, that's what that's striving to do. And I think that that's reflected in who we are as Braver Angels. So thank you for that, Lance. Dan, let's get you in. And we really have to close that. So as quick as you can, Dan, my apology, but glad to have you here.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. I really two quick questions. One is about Braver Connections. Does it strive for political balance? That's the first question. And the second question is, it sounds like there's going to be changes to the structure of Braver Angels. It sounds like that might be a change in the bylaws. Are we going to see those proposed changes before the convention so we can have an idea, so we can read up on them? And will people who are delegates going to get an email enumerating what those changes are?
Yeah, we addressed the second point a little earlier, but Kieran, David Lapp, I don't know if you guys want to say anything about that. Would either of you like to jump in on Dan's points?
I'm not entirely sure about the bylaws. David B., you can weigh in, but I will say that we do have a committee that's going to start working on drafting a very rough draft of the platform, starting to surface ideas, and then that will be sent out to delegates. And so that coming into the convention, there will have been some work done on the platform, but then there's going to be an opportunity at the convention for delegates to actually dig in and make changes to the platform, make revisions, right? It is going to be deliberative democracy in action. We're going to be using a modified form of parliamentary procedure. And on the last day of the convention, we will have a vote on the convention that has been developed by the delegation.
Yeah, and I would also say to my friend, there is a new thing going on, which you allude to, and it's called Braver Network. And David Lapp is our leader on that. And that is a new program where we bring in a lot of partner organizations. It will not require a change in our bylaws, but it will be a change in our structure. And we will be talking about this at the convention. And so delegates will have a chance to weigh in on what that means to work with a larger network around the country. And to your other point of, is there red-blue balance? There is strict red-blue balance. So there will be equal numbers of conservative leaning and liberal leaning representatives. There will be equal numbers within the Braver Network group.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate your questions. Yes, indeed. Folks, we're going to have to leave the Q&A there. We are just about at time, but I want to encourage absolutely everybody here, a la Donna Murphy, unless you're having open heart surgery or getting married or whatnot. There might be some other legitimate excuses too.
What else did she include? Oh, you have to be getting married on that exact day.
Yeah, you can't just be getting a haircut, you know.
Yeah.
Folks got to make it to Gettysburg, and so we encourage folks to sign up, register for the convention, refer organizations that you believe might be appropriate to join us.
Go on the website, like David Lapp said. The main a huge thing is if you have one organization that you're a part of or that you know about, see if you can get them to connect with us on the website of Apply to Be a Braver Partner, part of Braver Network. I can't urge you enough to see if you can do that. Reach out to one organization that you're a part of or that you know of to try to connect it. We're trying to do something very big here for our country. And if you could help us, it would make a huge difference.